The books of Maccabees are ancient Jewish texts that focus on key events in Jewish history, especially the struggle for religious freedom. There are 4 books, but only the first and second Maccabees are recognized as part of the Catholic Bible. They are rejected by the Protestant Church and the Jewish Torah, which only include texts that meet specific criteria for historical and spiritual significance. The first and second books of Maccabees tell the story of Judah Maccabee and his brothers who fought to free Judea from foreign control under the Seleucid Empire. These books also give some of the earliest written references to the celebration of Hanukkah, which commemorates the rededication of the temple in Jerusalem after its desecration by foreign rulers. The fourth book of Maccabees, written later around 37 to 41 CE during the reign of Caligula, is considered historically unreliable. However, it is often included in the Maccabees collection because it mentions the beginning of Jewish persecution under Antiochus IV Epiphanes, who tried to force Greek culture and religion on the Jewish people. Scholars are unsure why this book was excluded from the official Bible. Some believe it was written too late to be included in the Jewish scriptures. Others suggest that Martin Luther, who led the Protestant Reformation, rejected it because it supported the idea of religious freedom, which did not align with his theological views at the time. These books are significant for understanding the Jewish resistance to oppression, the origins of Hanukkah, and the development of Jewish identity in a period of intense cultural and religious conflict. The Gospel of Judas. Sometime in the 1970s, in a cave in Egypt, a copy of the Gospel of Judas was discovered, written sometime around the 2nd century CE. It is not part of the Bible and was rejected by both early Christian leaders and later church councils. This rejection is partly because it presents ideas that sharply contrast with the teachings in the canonical Gospels. This gospel offers a very different view of Judas Iscariot, the disciple who betrayed Jesus. Instead of portraying Judas as a traitor, it suggests that Jesus asked Judas to hand him over to the authorities as part of a divine plan. This interpretation reflects Gnostic beliefs, a branch of early Christianity that emphasized secret knowledge, gnosis, and spiritual enlightenment. The Gospel of Judas includes conversations between Jesus and Judas, where Jesus explains complex spiritual ideas and criticizes the other disciples for misunderstanding his message. The Testament of Solomon, written between the 3rd and 5th centuries CE, claims to recount the supernatural adventures of King Solomon, the son of King David. It portrays Solomon enslaving demons to build the temple using a magical ring given to him by the archangel Michael. This ring, called the Seal of Solomon, is described as bearing either a pentagram or a hexagram, enabling Solomon to interrogate and control the demons. The text blends Greek, Egyptian, and Christian ideas, tying demons to stars and constellations, and offers spells for healing ailments supposedly caused by these demons. Many infamous mythological names, like Asmodeus and Abizu, appear in its stories. The Testament of Solomon was never accepted as scripture by the early church or Jewish scholars, as its content contradicts biblical teachings and reflects a much later period of writing. Instead, it provides insights into the legends surrounding Solomon, popular during the early Christian era, rather than historical or spiritual truths. The Ascension of Isaiah, also known as the Assumption of Isaiah, is a pseudepigraphal text, meaning it was falsely attributed to the prophet Isaiah. Written between the 1st and 3rd centuries CE, it combines 3 parts: the martyrdom of Isaiah, the testament of Hezekiah, and Isaiah's vision of ascending through the heavens. The first section describes Isaiah's prophecy about the wickedness of King Manasseh, who later has Isaiah executed by having him sawn in half, a fate possibly referenced in Hebrews 11:37. The second section includes prophecies about Christ's coming, widespread evil, and end times events, aligning with apocalyptic themes. The final and most notable section depicts Isaiah's supernatural journey through the 7 heavens, guided by an angel. During this vision, Isaiah observes the triune God and watches Jesus descend from heaven to earth for the virgin birth. This section leans toward heretical theology, such as Arianism, which contributed to its rejection by the early church. The Ascension of Isaiah blends Jewish and Christian traditions, offering a fascinating glimpse into early beliefs about prophecy and heaven. However, its late writing date and theological inconsistencies prevented it from being accepted as scripture. The Apocalypse of Abraham is a pseudepigraphal text that claims to recount a divine revelation given to the patriarch Abraham. Likely composed between the 1st and 2nd centuries CE, it reflects Jewish thought influenced by apocalyptic traditions and mystical ideas. The story begins with Abraham questioning his father's idol worship, ultimately leading to his rejection of idolatry. In response, God calls Abraham and sends the angel Yahweh to guide him on a visionary journey. During this journey, Abraham ascends through the heavens and witnesses profound revelations about God's majesty, the angelic hosts, and the fate of humanity. He is shown a vivid depiction of the destruction of the temple and the end of days. A key focus of the text is the covenant between God and Abraham, affirming his role as the father of many nations. It also includes cryptic apocalyptic imagery and discussions about the origins of sin tied to the fall of humanity and the actions of rebellious angels. The Apocalypse of Abraham blends Jewish mysticism and apocalyptic thought, offering a fascinating insight into early theological reflections. However, its late composition and reliance on non-canonical ideas prevented it from being accepted as scripture. The Proto-Evangelium of James is a pseudepigraphal text, often referred to as the Infancy Gospel of James, which details the early life of Mary, the mother of Jesus. Written in the mid-2nd century, it claims to be authored by James, the half-brother of Jesus, though scholars agree it was written much later. This work begins with the story of Mary's miraculous birth to Joachim and Anna, followed by her upbringing in the temple. It highlights her perpetual virginity, a theme central to the text, and introduces Joseph as an older man with children from a previous marriage, reinforcing the notion that Jesus' brothers were his stepbrothers. The Proto-Evangelium of James is significant for its imaginative retelling of Mary's life, including her marriage to Joseph, the birth of Jesus, and the arrival of the Magi. However, its non-canonical status stems from its late authorship and speculative nature, leading to its rejection by the early church. Despite its exclusion from the Bible, it remains influential in Christian traditions, particularly in shaping the narrative around Mary's life. The Acts of Peter is a late 2nd or 3rd century work that follows the Apostle Peter after the resurrection of Jesus. Written to promote Gnosticism, it features dramatic miracles and teachings that deviate from Orthodox Christian beliefs. While it offers fascinating stories, it was rejected by the early church due to its heretical ideas. One notable element is its depiction of Peter's crucifixion upside down, which, while unique, lacks historical verification. The Acts of Peter reflects the Gnostic disdain for the physical world and sexuality, common in many apocryphal texts. However, it should be seen as fictional, not inspired scripture. The Acts of Thomas is a pseudepigraphal work that purports to describe the Apostle Thomas's ministry in India after Jesus' ascension. Written in the early 3rd century, it shares many traits with other Gnostic texts, promoting doctrines contrary to the New Testament. Though some details, like Thomas's journey to India and his death by spearing, align with other traditions, most of the content is unsubstantiated. The text features highly theatrical miracles, such as resurrecting a victim from hell and talking donkeys performing exorcisms. It also includes the bizarre episode of Jesus selling Thomas to a merchant and appearing as his twin, symbolizing the Gnostic separation between the spiritual and material worlds. Despite some historical references, the Acts of Thomas was never accepted by the early church. The Apocalypse of Peter, written around the middle of the 2nd century AD, offers a vivid portrayal of the afterlife, but it is not accepted as part of the biblical canon. Unlike the Gnostic Gospel of Peter, this text has been found only in partial fragments, one in Greek and another in Ethiopian, discovered in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. The Greek version presents a terrifying vision of the condemned alongside the redeemed, drawing on imagery similar to Greek mythology, reminiscent of Dante's Inferno. The Ethiopian version, on the other hand, focuses on the signs of the end times and the future destruction, emphasizing the fates of the righteous and unrighteous. Despite its circulation in early Christian circles and being cited by some as inspired, the Apocalypse of Peter was ultimately excluded from the Bible. Its mythological influences and deviations from biblical principles contributed to its rejection. The Acts of Paul and Thecla is a 2nd century apocryphal text that tells the story of Thecla, a young woman who converts to Christianity after hearing Paul preach about chastity. She defies her engagement, follows Paul, and endures multiple death attempts, including being thrown into an arena of wild animals, where she miraculously survives. The text was widely read but rejected by early Christian leaders due to its unbiblical content, including miraculous events and teachings on virginity. These elements reflect Gnostic influences, especially the view that the material world, including the body, is evil. The Acts of Paul and Thecla was not included in the Bible, but Thecla was later canonized as a saint in the Catholic Church despite the text's questionable authenticity and theological issues. In the late 1950s, Morton Smith, a Columbia University scholar, claimed to have discovered a letter from Clement of Alexandria referencing a secret Gospel of Mark. Smith's discovery, transcribed from 17th century printing of Ignatius' letters, presented a supposed expanded version of the Gospel of Mark, with details about Jesus resurrecting a young man and engaging with him in a controversial manner. However, no physical evidence of the original letter exists, and the fragment has never been found in any other ancient texts. Scholars widely dispute the existence of the secret Gospel of Mark, noting its absence in early Christian literature and contradictions with Clement's other writings. Questions about the authenticity of Smith's claims, including potential forgeries and anachronisms, have led to the conclusion that the secret Gospel of Mark is likely a fabrication. While some remain skeptical, the general scholarly consensus is that this secret gospel never existed. The Gospel of the Egyptians is a fragmentary text believed to have been written in the 2nd century, attributed to a Gnostic tradition. It focuses on spiritual enlightenment, emphasizing secret knowledge and mystical teachings about God and creation. The text is associated with the Sethian Gnostics, who believed salvation came through hidden wisdom revealed to a few. Despite its intriguing content, the Gospel of the Egyptians was never included in the Christian biblical canon. Early Christian writers mention it briefly but rejected it due to its Gnostic teachings, which contradicted Orthodox Christian doctrines. The text's portrayal of creation and divine knowledge was seen as heretical. Today, the Gospel of the Egyptians offers insight into the diversity of early Christian thought. However, its authenticity and historical significance remain debated, as it only survives in fragments.